tomorrow is 9/11. In memory of all those that were lost from that horrific terrorist attack, I'd just like to take a moment of silence. Thank you. Appreciate that. Okay, we have an amendment on the agenda. We're taking out 8.3, the Public Works contract for the new facility, as we're having a special meeting on September 18th at 3:15. Do I hear a motion to adopt the amended agenda?
I've got a question first, please. There's some discrepancies with the consent agenda. I want to make sure that...
Well, we'll get to that when we get back to it.
Okay.
Do I hear a motion to accept the amended agenda?
So moved.
Wendell moved, Barry second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All against say nay. Mr. Holloman, would you like to do the invocation? And
Yes, ma'am. Oh, I have a question for you. Go ahead.
invocation.
Lord, please bow your heads. Lord, we thank you, Lord, for all the blessings we've had today. Lord, we thank you, Lord, for all the people who are at the meeting, all the families they represent. We ask that you bless them. We ask that you bless council and staff, and also, as Meredith mentioned, all those in 9/11, the descendants, and the lasting impact it's had upon our country. We ask your blessings upon these proceedings and give you all praise and glory. We ask in your name. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Here we have public comment. We've got 3 people signed up for public comment. Every person gets 5 minutes to speak. The council does not answer public comments. It's your turn to let us know how you feel. The first person on the list is Paige Lighty. Paige, when you come up, will you say your name and your address for our town clerk, please?
Paige Lighty, 503 Oz Road. This is on behalf of the Land of Oz, Emerald Mountain, and the Lighty family, sitting over here. This past weekend, we hosted the first of 2 Autumn at Oz weekends. The idea behind 2 weekends with fewer attendees per weekend was to, number 1, provide visitors with an enjoyable experience with less wait time, and number 2, attract visitors to the town over an extended 6-day period, more than that actually, since many of our visitors stayed for nights, as compared to just flooding the town over a 2-day weekend condensed period. From my perspective, the first weekend was very successful. As Renee and Wendell and I saw together at Fred's, it was slammed. Up top at the Land of Oz, smiles, joys, and stories reinforced me that they too were pleased. On behalf of the entire Oz team, we would like to thank the town for all of their support. Special thanks to Chief Pudney of the Fire Department, Chief Barnett of the Police Department, John Merritt, Jeff Fish, Preston Yates, from the Planning Department, Tim Holloman, of course, for staying in contact during Hurricane Dorian, and the entire town council. Thank you to Bernie at the Chamber of Commerce, Kate Gavanos, who we thoroughly enjoyed the Oz Ball this year, as we always do. Thanks to local businesses, especially Jimmy at the Brick Oven, the Accardi family, Fast Eddie, the White Wolf, BMRI, Azalea Transportation, Jim Brooks, the Elder family, and of course Fred Fole, who wouldn't be able to miss a breakfast at your establishment? Not me, for sure. A big thank you to the residents of Beach, especially the residents of Emerald Mountain, Land of Oz, for their patience. And to Cindy Keller for being instrumental in the creation of Autumn at Oz. Without her, this event would not be. Thank you, Cindy, who's not here. If I've missed anybody, it's just an oversight. It's not on purpose. I want to be respectful of the 5-minute rule. Please pass along my thanks to everyone. But I would like to end on this, an invitation to everybody in this room and 4 members of their family to join us on Friday as our guests at no cost to you up at the Land of Oz, our treat. And if you're interested, we have passes for you, which we'll hand out to you at the end of the meeting. This was truly a town event and an effort. We did it together. Thank you.
Thank you. Joe Gregory? That's okay. When you come up, just give your name and address so that for the...
Okay, Joe Gregory, 134 Hawthorne Road. I wanted to, I see it's on the agenda about the gravel road and the speed limit, and I wanted to address that, but if that's going to be addressed at a
No,
future...
you're fine. This is the time you would do it.
Okay. Hawthorne Road is a gravel road. It is a main thoroughfare between Pinnacle Ridge Road and Pine Ridge. Going to the club, I was here 3 or 4 years ago in an attempt to try to get it paved, on which I was unsuccessful. And I really, and all of the neighbors that I've talked to, that I just found out about the meeting today, and so I talked to a number of them, and they're all in favor of the speed limit reduction. And I really don't have anything else other than, there's a lot of people out there that are. I've talked to the police on more than one occasion, especially about the FedEx driver who comes through there at about 40 or 50 miles an hour. I don't know if he's been talked to or not, but we have a lot of people that drive that road very fast, kicks up voluminous amounts of dust and dirt, and it's just not safe, and it's not healthy. So really, that's all I had to say.
Okay, well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Last on our list is Jeff Fabry. Jeff, give your name and address to the town clerk, please.
My name is Jeff Fabry. I live at 113 Black Birch Lane, a gravel road. And I'm speaking in strong support of the proposed ordinance to limit speed to 15 miles per hour on all gravel roads in the town of Beech Mountain. For those of you who don't know me, I am a professor emeritus physician and also a professor emeritus of engineering with a PhD in quality and safety engineering. I've taught courses on safety to medical students and residents, to graduate students in engineering, and created a national program in safety for the American College of Surgeons. While the speed limit on gravel roads affects me personally, I am here to speak about safety throughout the entire town. I would like to make 3 points. First, individuals who live on gravel roads are fully aware of the hazards of fast driving, and I am confident are in support of the proposed ordinance. Since the gravel roads are residential in nature and not thoroughfares, I believe that the opinions of residents on gravel roads need to be emphasized in this consideration. Second, as is evident when traveling through town, individuals drive on the right side of paved roads and typically walk along the edge of the road, but individuals drive and walk in the center of gravel roads. Finally, and I believe our police will corroborate this statement, I did provide the data to Chief Barnett. The stopping distance of an auto on dry pavement is at 25 miles an hour is 60 feet. At 15 miles per hour, it is less than 30 feet, more than a 50% reduction in stopping distance. The stopping distance on a gravel road is almost double that on a dry asphalt and approximates the distance on snow. Reducing the speed limit to 15 miles per hour returns the stopping distance on gravel to that expected by individuals driving on dry asphalt. In conclusion, this concern will be viewed by many as the individual concerns of a few homeowners who live on gravel roads. However, this is a much larger issue and represents a safety concern for the entire town. A vote against the proposed ordinance, in my professional opinion, is a vote against safety. and I would like to submit this document to the town clerk to be recorded.
Thank you, Jeff. Okay, we have our consent agenda. Widener? You wanted to talk about something on the consent agenda?
Yeah, I noticed several discrepancies. Let me point them out.
Sure.
First of all, on page 4,
Oh, you're talking about the minutes?
yes,
Okay, that's fine. What most of us do is we just submit our revision to Tamara when we're doing the minutes, but go ahead.
so on page 4 of 105, it says that the letter that was submitted into the record by Emerald Mountain, Inc., Land of Oz, and the Leidy family, which was made part of these minutes and listed as agenda item 6.5. Item 6.5 has been omitted.
Okay.
Okay. Second thing is, and I realize that here on the note, the above minutes are not verbatim record of the proceedings. I get that, but it's got here that a comment that I allegedly made, which is inaccurate. Councilman Abernathy was concerned with the Lake Coffee project, the council vote, and the over-budget construction cost. He disagreed with, excuse me, with installing the bathrooms, which costs $150,000. That is not what I said. What I said is that this facility grew from a storage building with bathrooms estimated by the town manager to cost $150,000 to a community center with a meeting room and kitchen with an estimated cost of $800,000. So pretty good discrepancy there between what was written down and what I actually said.
Okay. Anything else?
That's it. Thank you.
Okay. So we have our consent agenda. We have the adoption of the minutes with the revisions that Councilman made. We've got Chapter 122C-251 amendment. It's a required by state to have a transportation and agreement for involuntary commitments, and it begins on October 1st, 2019, so we have that. We also have a resolution to the 2020 U.S. Census Bureau partnership, and basically saying we're going to help the census do what they need to do. And we have an ad valorem tax order to collect, which enables the town to collect our taxes this year, which is extremely important. Do I have a motion to accept the consent agenda with the changes?
So moved.
Wendell moved. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Barry second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody against, say nay. Motion carries. We have new business. The councilman had asked that we put on the agenda for the convenience center to have a wire fencing installation around the convenience center. Do I hear a motion to do a wire fencing installation around the convenience center?
I'll make a motion.
Widener made a motion. Do I hear a second?
I'll second it.
Madam Mayor, a councilman may not second his.
I know that. I know where this is going, so
Okay. The motion fails for lack of a second. Next on the agenda is the Lower Pond Creek Boardwalk project bid. And Tim, are you going to take that? Since
If you have any
Sean?
questions, Sean was not here, but Kate Prisco is here, so if you'll step up. Basically, I think this is part of a three-pronged event. We're only asking for one bid to be approved, so if you have any questions for Kate, and then we do have a recommendation for a motion in.
I was looking at the boardwalk part. Do you know how long the boardwalk's going to be? Anybody? Because I was looking at all the paperwork, and these folks have done, obviously, a lot of work and have a lot of recommendations. But I was just curious if we knew how long that was going to be.
I
that
don't
they're building,
remember.
Compared to some of the other stuff that they've done.
I don't know that, I don't have the exact footages.
Okay.
But now, the actual project, you want to describe what it's going to be, it's where the rope is now, that type of thing, tell me a little about that.
Right, down on Lower Pond Creek where, right now we have a rope hanging connected to a rock that you have to kind of scurry up the side of the rock. So we're trying to make the trail a little more accessible for everybody instead of more Ninja Warrior style.
I think it's a good idea. It's a good idea. Anybody else have any questions?
Within the motion, would be a motion to award YRU
Right.
the bid, and also to find that Blue Ridge Trail Works was a non-responsive bid.
So was there a second bid on this?
Yes, that's what Blue Ridge Trail Works was the second bid. They did not bid both parts as we had asked, so they're deemed non-responsive.
So since they didn't bid both parts, should we not get a alternate bid, third bid?
There's no requirement for an alternate third bid.
It's certainly within council's discretion to reject all bids and to obtain additional bids. In my discussions with Mr. Royal, we discussed the Blue Ridge Trail Works bid, and by law, you are required to accept the lowest responsible bidder if you choose to accept any of them. In our review of their bid, Mr. Royal and I were of the opinion and recommendation that Blue Ridge Trail Works submission was non-responsive to the bid criteria. So if you wish to award the contract to YRU Contracting, that motion does need to also find that the Blue Ridge Trail Works bid was non-responsive to the bid document request.
So this project's $58,000. I mean, it's a lot of money. I think that,
It's basically going to be 3880.
okay,
$80.
$38,880.
Portion that's the towns is 9,200, I believe. This is part of the grant.
It's part of the grant.
Yep.
So
So the
we're,
grant is paid.
The grant's paying all but $9,200.
92, so our portion is 92.
Correct.
I think we need a third bid on this, just to keep everything clean and have something to compare it to. Because, I mean, we're giving them this, if we give them this bid, then we don't have anything to compare it to. We need to be,
Council?
I will say, Mayor, we can go back out for bids, but you run the risk of two things. These are two trail work companies. I don't think we'll get a third bid, and they also could go up on their price on the rebid, so just keep that in mind.
Well, we gave the opportunity for 3 people to come and bid on it.
We get the opportunity for multiple people.
Right,
And we only received 2
and we
bids.
only got 2 bids to begin with. Is there any reason why we would think that somebody didn't bid on it and would, for the people who can do this kind of work?
These are very specialized companies, so I would say no, but this account will carry out the council direction.
Anybody else have comments?
I don't think we need to proceed any further. I think we can
Okay.
vote now.
So do I hear a motion to accept the YRU bid and discount the, which was it?
It would be to reject the Blue Ridge Trail Works bid as
Bridge
non-responsive.
Trail Works portion of it.
So moved.
Wendell moved, do I hear a second?
Second.
Carl second. Any more discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All against say nay.
nay.
Thank you.
Motion carries 4-1. Thank you, Kate. Here we have old business, and we've got the Public Works System Development Fee. Daniel, come on up.
Mayor and Council, we just wanted to take a moment to reiterate the fact that, of course, we are in process of public review of the update to our system development fees, the study that was prepared by McGill Engineering. That document was put online and has been open for review since August 14th. I believe it closes on August 1st with the public hearing and the vote that will occur that night at council meeting. Again, I simply want to reiterate that the document itself and the system development fee study is available on the town website for you to read in its entirety. Also, there is a link there if you have any kinds of questions on, how this might apply to you as an individual or your business. By all means, my email is on that website for you to easily respond to me with any questions that you have. To this point, we have received no questions. So I wanted to reiterate the fact that we have this out, public hearing, of course, to come at the next council meeting. And I would ask, of course, tonight, if any of the council has any questions, that they could do so.
Anybody have any questions? No, it was pretty thorough when it was presented.
That document is open on the website until October 1st. It was just a
October 1st,
misstatement.
right.
Not August, yes.
Oh, I'm sorry, right, October 1st.
Okay,
All right, thank you.
thanks, Daniel. Okey dokey. Next on the list is the ordinance to amend Chapter 73 to reduce the speed limits on all gravel roads. Do I hear a motion to accept to reduce speed limits on all gravel roads? Okay, that fails. Moving on.
Wait, can you repeat that?
Well, I asked for a motion to reduce speed limits on all gravel roads, and nobody motioned.
Well, can we make an amendment?
Do you want to, go
I wanna
ahead,
make-
you want to make a motion
I
for
wanna make
something
an-
else?
I want to make an motion that we change the speed limit on Beach Mountain Parkway Extension, Lower Snowbird Trail, and as a third one, I'd like to add Hawthorne.
I think that should be upper and lower Snowbird.
Okay,
I'll go with that.
so you're amending your motion to upper and lower Snowbird
Correct.
and Hawthorne and the extension.
And the extension.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Madam Mayor, to clarify, would this be to reduce the speed limit on those four
Yes,
roads
to 15 miles an hour.
Thank you, ma'am.
So
Yes.
if this passes, is that going to set a precedent that there'll be another road added,
Yes,
another
it will.
road, another road?
Yep,
Depends on the residents.
depends on the residents and who wants it
If they
and where
wanna
they
bring
want it.
Yeah, if they want to bring it to the council again, it could come up for another vote.
Personally, I think we should do all gravel roads, but that lost the motion, so.
So I'm opposed to it. Mr. Gregory and Fabry, I appreciate and respect your comments, but I disagree, and it kind of puts me in an uncomfortable position, but, I have to go with what, I personally feel is right, even though I can't argue with your resume. It's impressive. But on the ordinance, it states that it will enhance pedestrian safety, reduce the sling and gravel, and decrease dust resulting from vehicular traffic. So in the past, I guess a question for PD. Who's representing PD? Captain, got a question for you, please. As far as you know, has there been any speeding tickets in the past 5 years on a gravel road?
So I did a little research on that, and what I came up with, for the past 5 years, there's been approximately 218 vehicle accidents. Out of those 218 accidents, 2 came with citations. One of those was on a gravel road, and the reason for the citation was a charge that we call careless and reckless, or driving too fast for conditions. That was one ticket that was written, but the data that we have, it shows that the gravel could have caused the accident. I would need to pull that information to find out exactly what went on there.
And that was how many years ago?
2014.
Okay.
Yes.
So there's been no fatalities
No.
on any of these roads?
So because there's no fatalities on these roads, can you look in your crystal ball and say that there's never going to be a fatality on these roads because of
Absolutely
cars?
not.
Right.
So, and it also says to decrease the dust resulting from vehicular traffic. You can go 10 miles an hour and have a cloud of dust behind you.
Right now, as dry as it is, I would have to agree with that.
I think the ordinance is not so much about spitting up gravel and spitting up dust. I think the ordinance is about the safety of people walking on the roads and walking their dogs on the roads. And again, I was for all roads, gravel roads, but that did not pass. I think if we start out with this, we're going to find that you're going to have a lot happier residents. Have you gotten calls, and this is, I should have asked you ahead of time, but I just thought about it. Have you gotten calls from people saying that people are driving really fast on our gravel road and have gone out there and clocked them and stuff like that?
We have a lot of it, and it happens more when the dry weather is. when there's more dust.
Right.
It's perception, people's perception of speed. When you combine a car traveling on a gravel road, the sound of the gravel that the car makes, the amount of dust that it kicks up, it can appear that the vehicle is traveling faster than what it really is. So many times we have answered speeding complaint calls, gone out. All of our officers, I believe except for one, is radar certified. It's been through the class. When you go through radar, they teach you how to estimate speed. And one of the things that they caution you about, at the end of your radar training, the officer has to go out and physically estimate the speed of the car coming, tell it to the instructor, and then they hit a button on the radar, it locks in the speed. Well, if you miss that speed by a few miles an hour, you fail that clock, we call it. So one of the things that they tell us when we're in our radar training is, don't clock the buses, don't clock the dump trucks, don't clock the 18-wheelers, because they're always going to look like they're going faster than what they are. And I think that's what you get here too, with some of the gravel, and especially right now because it's so dry. What you get a lot of is people thinking they're going faster than what they really are.
I have to disagree.
But I think I walk these roads quite frequently, and there isn't much room. I mean, if the car is coming down, I'm not worried so much about car accidents, I'm more worried about pedestrian. Because when you walk, if you look at, you take Hawthorne for a perfect example, it's not a very wide road. Now, if you're walking, and I walk quite often, my dog along the road, I don't have much room that I can move over. So
Right.
I'm not worried so much about car accidents, I'm more worried about pedestrian.
Right.
And the bigger issue is, like Renee says, should we be proactive ahead of time instead of waiting for an accident to happen? And then we should have said, well, we should have lowered it. And so that's where I'm taking the stand. I want to do it now rather than later.
I also think on the straightaways, and Hawthorne is the perfect example of that, it's a straight road. People go faster on the straightaways, and I appreciate, the police officers coming
do.
out and doing their radar. But I don't know if there's anybody in this room, if they're driving and they see a cop car ahead of you, no matter where you are, you're not going to slow down if you're going faster. So I do appreciate the radar, but if somebody sees that, they're going to come off their gas. I just think that, being on these roads for 20 years, I mean, when we had our dog on Hawthorne, we used to walk the dog. Language would come out of my mouth because of these people speeding. It was bad, and I hear from a lot of people that they're afraid to walk on the roads because people drive by so fast. Maybe it is a perception, but they're certainly not going 15 miles an hour, and it perceives that they're going 35 miles an hour.
Right.
Now, Greenbrier is another road, that's very curvy, so people aren't really going to go fast on that, and I guess you can't do anything about people cutting blind curves. But on straightaways, on gravel roads, people go faster because they can. Anybody else have any comments?
I have a question. So it says the police department researched lowering the speed limit on certain gravel roads at the request of the community. What research did you guys find? What you just read?
I'm not sure I understand. Can you repeat the question?
I'm not sure, that's not in the ordinance. is it?
Yeah, I don't know that
It's
we've
for the,
done.
it says July of 2019, the police department researched lowering the speed limit on certain gravel roads.
What page?
That's on the agenda cover sheet.
It's on page 49 of 105. What was that research?
That's the chief looking at
He just looked at it. They-
information,
they-
vehicular accidents and
Yeah.
things like that, I think is what he did.
Are
Just
you
went back and
positive?
looked at it. Yeah, because I had a conversation with him about it.
Okay. And what did he say? Or what was the research again, please?
Basically said that it was part of what Renee ended up finding is that there weren't that many vehicular accidents on the roads.
The accidents that we have listed on our gravel roads, you can go and you can look at and you're welcome to stop by. I have those pulled up. I'll be happy to tell you how to read the data. But you can look at the time of the year, most of the accidents that happen.
During
Yeah.
the winter.
And the gravel, and the way that the accident reports that the state requires, DMV 349 it's called, you can look it up online. It tells you, you have to put in the road surface, which that's gonna be pavement or gravel. And then there's a block that you check that says where the debris, where there's snow, ice, rain. And so the state takes all of their statistical information from that DMV 349. They compile it, and if they, in the bigger places, not necessarily Beach Mountain, but let's say Johnson City or Charlotte, if they see that the rec reports are coming in and there's accidents in this one certain place, they're gonna look at all the accident reports, compile that information and say, hey, we gotta do something in this area. They need another stoplight, they need more enforcement, they need something here in this particular area. Beach Mountain's wrecks are never really concentrated in one area. They happen all over in the wintertime. And so my whole point was, you'll see accidents on a gravel road, but that doesn't necessarily mean it was gravel that day. It could have been 2 inches of snow and ice with some chat on the top of it.
Carl, or Barry, what were the 3 roads that you mentioned,
Okay,
please?
Number 13,
I'm sorry?
number 13,
Number 13,
56,
13, 56,
79,
79,
and 131.
79, and 131. So on these roads, Captain, that
56, 79, 131.
Upper Snowbird Trail, Lower Snowbird Trail,
I have 131.
Hawthorne, and Beach Mountain Parkway, starting at 1402. Has PD run radar on these roads?
We mostly run radar when we get a speeding complaint from a certain area. Right off the top of my head, I don't know if these were some of them during this past summer. I know that a big problem area that we get a lot of complaints on is Village Road. And I know that people do go too fast on Village Road. Now, it's not a gravel road. I was
Down
just,
the hill way too
yeah,
fast.
from up the top.
I've gotten almost clipped a couple times.
Yeah, yep. We've had a lot of speeding complaints the past month. We have sent an officer to each and every one of those complaints. And the officer is there, and I can pull that information also. That officer is there anywhere between 45 minutes to an hour, maybe longer. And I hear this officer check out every morning, no violations observed. So while that officer is there are no violations. That doesn't mean there wasn't one when it got called in. I'm sure there was. But it's
Like I said, if people see police cars, they're gonna automatically slow down. Now, if we could get officers on every road, I wouldn't have a problem with that. Now, that's not gonna happen, so.
Or it could have been a perception problem.
I would say yes and no. I think people who have lived up here, maybe people who aren't used to being up on Beach Mountain and on gravel roads, they come from someplace else where the gravel road is not one of their options. I think that could be a perception problem because they're not used to it. But a lot of the people that I've spoken to who are in favor of it, of going to the 50 miles an hour, they've lived up here a long time, 20 years or more, and they're very familiar with the roads, and they're familiar with the cars going in front of their homes and the roads that they work on and walk on. And they are positive that these cars are going faster than 25 miles an hour. I've seen cars going faster than 25 miles an hour on roads too, so it happens. It's just that it doesn't happen when the police are there.
well, people will go fast where they can go fast.
Of course.
That's just human nature.
Right, I mean, who
You're gonna
goes
make
25
up
miles an hour on Beach Mountain Parkway
Yeah.
and all the paved roads?
You're gonna make up in the straightaways what you missed in the curves, which is 2 seconds of
Right.
time.
Right.
You know, I think that either we need to make all the roads 15 miles an hour, or we make none of the roads 15 miles an hour. Because if we do make some and not others,
So I
we're
have
going to create a precedent.
I have a comment about that. If you make some roads 15 miles an hour and some 25, and so someone goes from a 25-mile-an-hour road to a 15-mile-an-hour road and they don't realize it, they're going to get a ticket. I don't know, that's something that we need to think about. It'd be like on an interstate driving going from 70 to 55 and not realizing the speed limit change.
I agree with that. That's why I wanted all of them, so when you're on a gravel road, you know what the speed limit is.
Yeah, so the homeowners that take many different roads to get to their home, you
15,
know.
25, 15,
Yeah,
25.
yeah.
Because so many of the roads intersect. So,
Yeah.
I mean, that would drive a person crazy.
So that might be something that you all could
Or they could just go 15 miles an hour anyway.
think about that.
Well, I mean, we have a sign on Lake Ridge going towards the club that says it's 15 miles an hour with an arrow pointing up. So, I mean, we do have some signage to inform the person driving on that road that it's coming up to a 15 mile an hour speed limit. I mean, even when you drive on our highways, you know, if you're coming up to Beach, you have signs that says, you know, you're gonna be in a 25 mile an hour zone. I mean, we can't, we've gotta look at, we're in a different type of situation up here. And so, we have a lot of people that walk a lot. And so it's not like you're dealing in a regular town or city. And so we have roads that were made very narrow. And so that's, to me, is the issue. Now, if somebody's going 15 miles an hour on a gravel road because he doesn't think the next one is 15, means he's gonna speed it up. I think if he gets into the idea that it's 15 miles an hour, maybe he won't do it. I mean, we're making assumptions. You know, Hawthorne is a perfect example. That road, people go from Pinnacle to Pine Ridge. And everybody goes down that road, because that's the crossroad. And then, so if you go between that and the golf carts, because a lot of golf carts go on that road also, beside the pedestrians.
So my question is, to kind of argue the point a little bit, is there's 152 roads that are here in our agenda, our packet. And your point is that the roads are too narrow. So are the 5 roads that you mentioned the only narrow roads out of the 152?
Well, my road is narrow, but it's a dead end. So nobody's going down my road. You know, I mean, we have to look at the roads that have the most traffic. There's a lot of roads on here, but a lot of them don't go anywhere. I mean, they're dead ends. I mean, I'd rather them say no outlet, but the sign says dead end, which means if you get too far, you're dead.
I also spoke with the police chief and talked with him about the idea of speed limit perceptions, things like that. And he's indicated that in 20 years with the Eastman here, he has not really experienced any injuries to individuals walking. And walking isn't new here on Beach. It's been going on for a long time since Beach has been Beach.
Right.
And for the most part, there have not been the accidents or injuries to people that have walked and driven on these roads for that period of time. You indicate that there was an accident, and you couldn't quite exactly, I don't think you exactly said whether it was dry on gravel or wet or
It
snow.
was whenever I went and pulled up the citation. In fact, Officer Miller was the one that wrote it. Back in 2014, do you remember that citation? I want to say, because the charge reads, driving too fast for conditions to wit, and I believe his ticket said leaves
Uh-huh.
and rain and leaves, I believe is what I said. And I
And, you know,
didn't,
I talked with Chief Barnett, and that was one of the things, excuse me, we talked about driving under conditions. He says basically the police officer, although the speed limit may be 25 or 15, whatever, if the police officer in his or her estimation deems that going 5 miles an hour on that road is too fast for the conditions, they can write the ticket too fast for the conditions
Yes.
as they occur, as they
Yes.
exist. It could be that the clouds have dropped on us, which I think we've all experienced at one time.
that's exactly right. That's exactly right.
It's
That's
not
how that
really fog,
works.
It's the clouds lowering in.
That is how that works.
And that's how that law reads. At the same, you know, I was, for the longest time, as we've been discussing this over the past recent months, I've been in favor of lowering the speed limit on all roads, all gravel roads. And as I upset fellow councilmen this past week, I've changed my opinion on that. I don't think it should be on all gravel roads. I think that we pretty much need to leave it the way it is now. And if we have conditions that are brought up specifically focused on something, whether it be Beach Mountain Parkway, the gravel extension area, or if we're going to consider other roads in the immediate area, we've talked about Upper Lower Snowbird and Hawthorne. I made a point after I made my decision that I was not going to vote in favor of this. I made a point of driving Hawthorne, and I tried to drive it based on my memory, how I usually drive Hawthorne. And I didn't go over 25 miles an hour on it. I always take it fairly slow when I get on gravel roads. Just as a matter of practice, I've always done that personally. And when I approach individuals walking or walking their dogs, I generally slow down even more. I'm not saying everybody does that, but I'm saying that's how I do it. And I have talked with police, and there is the possibility with our existing speed signs, the electronic ones that we have, there is the possibility with looking at the software on those that possibly we can find out for vehicles in a particular area in a particular time period, how many of them are exceeding X speed limit designations, and that could be looked at. And then if it turns out that that needs enforcement because we're having a high percentage of people going fast on those roads, then the police can set up, I guess you would call them speed traps. for the lack of a better term.
No, I don't.
Speed monitoring.
I don't like that word. We run.
Neither would
we, we,
45.
we,
Do radar.
we do a stationary radar. And that comes with its own set of problems on certain roads. A
I'm sure.
radar needs to be straight on. If you'll notice, every time you pass one of these radar signs, you're
You've got to
hitting them
lead
straight
time.
on.
Sure.
Same way as in the car. If you're at an angle, it can throw the speed, either too fast or too slow. It can skew the readings. So, we can't run radar in a curve easily.
But it's the straightaways that would be the biggest problem.
But absolutely, Wendell, we have that capability.
Can I'm just going to move this a little bit forward. If the council decides to approve this, to his point, what would a citizen need to do if they wanted if they got people on their road to say, yes, we want our road to be 15 miles an hour? How would something like that work?
They would probably approach either a council member or staff and say, I want the speed limit lowered on my gravel road.
But does it have to come to council
Yeah,
again?
I mean, you have
Every
to go to
road would
council.
have to come to council?
Yes.
I did happen to ask Tim, not too long ago, in fact, this past week, is there a possibility that we could structure an ordinance in such a way, and Tim was not too happy about me asking this, and he's trying to avoid looking at me right now. But I specifically asked, is there a way that we could structure it so that we could set up the situation where if the majority of the people on a gravel road want it at a lower speed limit, that they can approach Tim, and we've given him the authority to go ahead and reduce the speed limit.
Then you're going to have neighbors against neighbors. So,
Yeah, I can't disagree.
I think
I think that's why Tim didn't do it.
if I hear Wendell correctly, that what he implied, and I don't put words in his mouth, is that there's not enough data here to change the speed limit from 25 to 15. I mean, there's no data. I think we need to leave it alone.
There's not a history of problems, is what you're saying.
I mean, I don't want to see problems, but, you know, there's just not enough data here to make this decision.
Okay, we have a motion on the table for the roads mentioned. We have a second. We've had our discussion. All in
Thank you,
favor
Captain.
of changing the speed limit on the roads mentioned to 50 miles an hour, say aye. Aye. All against, say nay.
Nay.
No?
What was your?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Thank you. I didn't hear it. Thank you. Motion passes on the roads mentioned to 15 miles an hour.
I think it's important for the public to note that until we get those speed limit signs posted on those roads, it doesn't go into effect until then. So don't think it happens tonight.
How many signs are going to be on these roads?
That's not actually technically correct.
Oh, am I wrong?
It is actually enforced as soon as it is adopted, but we just don't have the signs up.
So it is a ordinance upon adoption and
Right.
it's codified. However, under Chapter 20, which is the Motor Vehicle Code, in order to write a criminal citation or an infraction,
Or a speeding ticket.
essentially a speeding
Thank
ticket,
you.
yes, as everyone understands it, in order to write it as a speeding ticket, the statute requires that the road be posted at each end where it becomes effective and at each major intersection
Okay.
related to that road. Now, it is effective in our ordinance and would be potentially enforceable as a civil violation, but as a violation of Chapter 20 for speeding, it requires signage.
Okay.
Which is a point that I think everyone needs to consider if you're talking about lowering the speed limit upon all gravel roads. The number of speed limit signs that we're talking about posting is in excess of 200. I mean, that will become the national, or the local flag
Yeah.
will be a speed limit sign.
Would there be a way to get around that if that decision ever comes to do all of them? And to not have a 15-mile between every road on the ends?
Previous councils have looked into changing the standard effective speed limit across the town. Generally, it's 35 miles per hour in a municipality, 55 miles an hour outside of one unless posted. That would require a local act of the General Assembly
But that's for all
to change
roads.
it. Would it, as far as a more uniform or something that would,
But if we kept it 25 on the paved roads and we did 15 miles an hour, like Carl said, if it should ever come to do all roads, I mean, is there any way around not having to post a 15-mile-an-hour speed limit at the beginning and end of every road?
not if you wanted it enforced as a speeding ticket by law enforcement.
Get in front of the judge and throw it out if it's not posted.
Correct. A good defense lawyer, and we have several, would get that kick.
Correct.
Okay, thank you. Moving on.
You have the list, you have the name of the roads?
Yes, sir. I'll prepare an amendment to this and send it to Ms. Mercer for her signature and the mayor's signature.
Okay. Next, we have the Adopt a Street program. We were presented with that at the last meeting. Do I hear a motion to accept the Adopt a Street program? You're making the motion. Barry made a motion. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Carl seconds. Time for discussion. Wendell?
Well, I've looked over the package for the Adopt a Street program, and I think it's loaded with things that have to be corrected before we could actually put it in place, in my opinion. I could go over, and will if you want me to give you an example. It talks about on page 58 of 105, it talks about that the period of time that the individual or group would have to do the cleanups. They'd have to do at least 4 between April and through October. So in effect, they would be doing it every other month that they would have to do that. I just think that's important that you understand where that is. And then further in it on page 63 of 105, and the reason I jumped there from where I'm at here, we talked about between April and October. The example given in here, it talks about no cleanup should be conducted on a holiday weekend. Examples, Thanksgiving, 4th of July, Christmas, etc. So 2 of the 3 examples, other than the etc., are outside of the period when they have to do the 4 cleanups. So that just didn't make any sense to me. On page 59 of 105.
Let me address that one right there. While
Sure.
you're there. At least 4 times annually means they have to do a clean April and October. They can do more cleanups. So if they do more than what's required, we don't want them on a holiday weekend. So that's why.
Okay.
Can I interrupt for a second?
Sure.
My question about this is my husband and I are constantly cleaning the road that we have to get to our house. If there's litter on there, we're picking it up. I would like to adopt that road. I want to put a sign up there that says the Castiglions have adopted this road, because we take pride in that. I have to wear a vest, I have to wear gloves, I have to, I don't know, do whatever else. I have to fill out forms. Forms are not a big deal, but do I have to do that every time I stop and pick up something?
You should be wearing safety equipment every time you're on a town road if this is a sanctioned event. I think that's what Wendell was getting at. I hate to interrupt right here.
That's all right.
This
Say it for me.
This came from a council, with the council retreat saying we wanted to adopt the street program.
Yeah.
Our interns, our planning staff, public works on it. So this is a program that will be sanctioned by the town, which tries to account for as many variables as possible. If you get out there and you don't want your name on the road and you still want to clean up your road, there's nothing that stops that. And there's nothing that,
Of course, but if we say we're going to adopt it, then
if
that's
you
what
want
we
to
have
sign,
to do.
if you want to
I
sign,
don't
then
need
you
to
have to
sign
abide
that.
by the program.
Okay. Now,
If you just want to clean up.
let me sort of expand upon that a little bit. Right now, on an annual basis, the Chamber of Commerce runs an event at the beginning in springtime. I can't remember exactly when that runs.
April.
Are we talking that they need to meet this? No.
They're not trying to put signs up.
So
as a
there's no
chamber
signs,
house.
so they can still do it?
They can still do it as a public
Okay.
service, and, we try to still encourage them to wear safety, but that's a separate thing.
So
Okay.
the whole thing about this is if people do want to adopt their road, because a lot of people take pride in their roads and their flowers and their cleaning up and stuff, which is great. If they choose to do that, and they choose to do it 4 times a year and put on all the gear and all that, then that would be that ordinance.
Or program, it's not an ordinance.
Okay, program.
What's wrong with just keeping it voluntary and not having 30 pages of,
It's only 24, but you're close.
okay?
Damn close.
Thank you.
There's no problem with it. We just gave council what council asked for. I don't have a problem if this is not adopted at all. And the way you're going, I would say not to adopt it. And because the thing about it is, if people want their nice, pretty sign with their name on it saying they do that, to me, you have to have a program. There's nothing that stops people from volunteer, asking public works for a few trash bags to clean up. So it sounds like council really is not interested in an official adopted street program at this time. And then we won't have to worry about the signage, but when you start putting signage in there, then people, they do it for 1 year, they get their family name up there, then they don't do it forever, and then we take the sign down, then they're upset with us for taking their family name down because that's their
But
road.
if you want to sign, you have to follow the rules.
If we adopt it, if it's adopted policy.
Two things. You have to make a donation, and you have to stop feeding the deer.
Okay.
Let's leave it as it is.
That's
and
enough
let's have
discussion. Let's
voluntary.
take a vote. All in favor of adopting the Adopt a Street program, say aye. All against, say nay. Nay. Fails. Okay. Mr. Holloman, your staff reports.
Mayor, as far as this time, I don't have anything else to add. Other than, the Bart Park finally was striped. It was, people have been asking for that for a while. We've got a lot of other things going on right now. The public works, is not on tonight's agenda because we're still reviewing the bids. There's going to be a special call meeting on the 18th. We have, I think it's on October 16th, I gotta check. We have flu shots here at Town Hall from 10 to 1. We will have a blood drive November 1st at Buckeye from 10 to 2. So there's a lot of things going on that. So we'll be sending out postcards and information in case anybody has any questions.
Okay.
I have a question. Now that we pay part of the parkway,
When's it getting straight?
who's striking it?
Usually we don't stripe out till the springtime. I have to give Robert, see if he's got anybody striping. I don't think I've got anybody, don't have anybody
Can we get
scheduled.
that stripe somehow?
We'll do our best. We have to get the contractor. They usually do all that striping in the
I
springtime.
know, but it's dark at night.
I mean, why
When the
would-
time changes.
Yeah.
Why would
We'll
we
work
pave
on
that,
trying
and
to
not
make-
stripe it?
Because the paving
You
is,
don't get to tell them when to come. They tell you
Yeah.
when they're coming.
Yeah.
After you place
It's
the
chicken
contract
and egg.
months in advance. Their placement cost to locate the equipment and bring the stuff means that you're happy when they show up.
As long as it doesn't rain.
As
We
long
will
as it
look
doesn't
and see if we can do it.
please do,
And,
because it's bad at night. It's
y'all
very
can get
bad
that,
at night.
Daniel, Matthew.
Well, I can sort of have a question on that. If, I know we have equipment, and you could possibly do it with the equipment that we have.
I would say no.
We do not have the equipment now.
No,
I'm getting a head nod the wrong way.
no,
But it doesn't arrive the product anymore.
yeah. no.
Okay.
Yeah, it is.
It's not straight.
Yeah,
Okay.
we need to have somebody.
If we're only looking for something to get us through to maybe next spring, could we do something I've sort of touched on in the past and just do a single stripe instead of double stripes?
I'd say no, because that's not a standard DOT.
Well, I don't know, you drive around a lot of
But
places.
we get
Boogie
money,
and boom.
we get money from the DOT, so we have to abide by their standards as far as the roads.
Boone gets money from DOT and they
Well,
put single stripes.
I know, but we don't know if that's on a private, well, I don't know about which roads they have stripe line. We'll do our best to get a price. I'll come back to council.
Okay.
I'll let you know if we can get it done before
Okay.
Thanksgiving, because if we can get it done before Thanksgiving, we will. If not, then we probably do need to wait till the spring, because they're not gonna have good weather to do it.
Okay, well, let's see what we can do about that.
Yeah, we'll work on it.
All right, we're town council comments, Wendell,
Actually, no, I think I've probably commented enough.
okay, Widener,
Yeah, I've got a few comments, please. I have serious concerns about the direction our town is heading in due to the lack of leadership, not by only our town manager, but council as well. With this council, we should have been further along with progress exhibiting measurable results. It is kick the can down the road mentality. Several examples: the delay in our infrastructure, our roads, decisions being made by council prior to council meetings, no preventative maintenance program of Public Works, and the mismanagement of our recycling center. Furthermore, the numbers we are provided with constantly change before, during, and after public discussions. How is council to make sound financial decisions with inaccurate information? Case in point, on June 14th, our town manager said it costs $4,300 to maintain the gravel portion of North Pinnacle and Oz Road. I stated this figure is low, and his response was, it may be a little high. We had a special call meeting to discuss the paving, and the cost went up 125%. Bear with me for a moment, please. In terms of our outback and the financial impact of biking trails here on Beech Mountain, we have a gold mine in our backyard. The town should be better stewards, building relationships with the landowners and utilizing this untapped market. There was a study in Business North Carolina in last month's magazine. In Western North Carolina, there's 252,000 bikers that come to Western North Carolina. It's got a tax revenue of $15.3 million and income of $43 million. That's pretty substantial, and Beech Mountain should be taking advantage of that. Preventative maintenance. Beech Mountain has no daily preventative maintenance program in place. The town has several specialized, very expensive pieces of equipment that the manufacturer requires daily inspection and preventative maintenance that is not occurring according to the town manager. When I asked why, his response is that we are not a factory. I have a factory, and in our manufacturing process, every piece of equipment we have, our rolling stock, our tractors, our trailers, our vans, our machinery, our forklifts, we have a daily inspection. This saves us hundreds of thousands of dollars annually. This is money that goes straight to the bottom line. There's no reason Beech Mountain cannot do the same thing. Beech Mountain's Recycling Center. What makes Beech Mountain's Recycling Center any different than the 4 to 5 that we have in a 10-mile radius? The difference is others have barbed wire fences and Beech Mountain does not. When I asked other recycling centers about their bear issues, their response is, we seldom have bear hits. Bears do not like barbed wire, and it only takes once before they do not return. Why has a simple chain link fence with barbed wire not been installed? So what we do every morning is bears hit the recycling center at 6 a.m. Charlie spends about an hour, however long it takes, or whomever, picking up trash. It's a safety hazard. It's a matter of time. You know, we're worried about, we've never had talking about warding off a potential injury on our gravel roads, but, you know, it's a attraction center when you go to our recycling center at night. There's been multiple calls that our police have had to answer, and wildlife, to our recycling center. It's irresponsible that we have not done anything about it. Town taxpayers are paying to collect, haul, and dump construction debris from contractors. We continue to have outside residents and contractors utilizing our convenience center for free. As I have stated in multiple meetings, why does our manager and council tolerate this? Last week, I watched a contractor dump a truckload of drywall and debris at the dump. I received a call from our town manager acknowledging we are not following our own written ordinance. Why? What is going on Beech Mountain? The town manager was issued a brand-new automobile as a take-home car without public discussion or council approval. When I questioned the mayor, she stated it was approved in the budget. It was not. It was in fact hidden carefully in the budget so people would not notice. Police take-home vehicles required a major public discussion. Several restrictions were placed upon the police officers. The town manager has no restrictions. Why? Who approved the take-home vehicle for the town manager?
You did.
I believe this requires public discussion and, if approved, an amendment to the town manager's contract. What else has slipped by? And my question is that having a take-home car changes the compensation package. Does it not?
Yes, sir, that would be, if there is a change in the benefits, that's a change in the compensation.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
This should require a council vote, and it didn't.
I gotta say one thing on that.
I'm not finished. Many taxpayers believe our town is in the worst shape ever. I agree. You know, what is going on? Furthermore, I attended the Oz event this weekend, and I'd like to give a thank you to the Leidy family and their staff for providing a destination for our families. You guys did a very nice job. Thank you for what you do to Beech Mountain, for Beech Mountain.
Done?
Done.
Barry?
Okay, let's address it. Unfortunately, for the residents, you have to listen to this, but unfortunately, there's one councilman that distorts the facts of what's going on, and so unfortunately, we have to put it on the record. I'm sorry we have to deal with it, but let's use fence. He used an example of at the end of Buckeye Lake Road. There's a recycling center over there. I went to look at it. Yeah, it's got a fence. Half of it is broken. The garbage is, the people throw their garbage over it, so it doesn't make a difference. We're not going to spend $25,000 or $30,000 for a fence when we're building a new recycling center. Talk about using taxpayers' money. It doesn't make sense. Bikes, Kate, will you come up here and give us the breakdown on, since he doesn't attend the meetings, how much money we took in on that bike ride?
The Enduro.
The Euro? I know the number.
You can come on up there.
We had our Enduro on August 25th, and we had 196 bike riders registered and actually raced. I think we had a little bit more registered that didn't participate.
I think 4.
And I'm not sure what the total was,
200
but
registered, and there was 196 that actually participated.
So do you know where I was Friday, Saturday, and Sunday,
And
Kate?
we also, you had your time.
I was working the race.
You had your
That's
time.
great.
We also took in $15,600 on that race, which we also shared with
the
the
resort.
resort. So we are benefiting from our cycling, and we are using it, and it's more people who keep coming for that event. So yes, we are using Outback, and I think it's a great for the town, and hopefully we can continue to use it. But we are taking full advantage of of the bike industry or the bike people that are taken advantage of. Thank you. Now, we'll talk about the take-home car, or the budget that was apparently slipped in. And I'd like to have this in the record. The town council held 2 initial budget workshops and 2 follow-up budget workshops with council input and changes. The public hearing on May 7th allowed for public participation, and on the 24th, the workshop. The staff looks forward to continue providing high level of service to our council and citizens' protection, making Peach Mountain a great place to live. Now, in the notes, it states, car allowance will be discontinued as long as the manager drives a planned or inspection vehicle. So we took away his car allowance. You voted, and I emphasize, you voted for the budget. And it's in there. There's nothing hidden. So if you missed it, I'm sorry. But it's there. So don't accuse anybody of doing anything under the table if you misread what's there. You have ample opportunity to voice your opinion at the time of the budget. So it's there.
Done?
Done.
Carl?
Throw that at me. Well, before addressing that, let me speak to Jeff. Jeff, I think this is the first time that I've disagreed with something you've said. I highly respect both your training and your position. My opposition to lowering the speed limit is, I live on a gravel road. I've been trying for the last 2 months to drive 15 miles an hour on gravel road. No one's gonna do it. But the folks that are exceeding 25 now are gonna exceed 15 if you were to lower it anywhere. I absolutely respect you, and it struck me as odd that that's the first time I've ever been on the opposite side of something than you. As always, thank you everyone for coming, and your participation is appreciated. A couple of Widener's comments particularly rankled me. One, lack of movement on infrastructure. We have 2 major infrastructure projects coming to the shovel ready or whatever, taking off in the spring. A major water line replacement in the Charter Hill section, followed by a major sewer line replacement. We're taking more of a capture the money, do larger sections, minimize the impact. If you all remember when Village Road was chewed up last year, but it's irresponsible of him to say that this council is not moving forward on their infrastructure. It absolutely is, and it's doing so in a deliberate, purposeful way, best utilizing your money in concert with our quality employees, the state, and everyone else involved. That is simply self-serving and incorrect, and for whatever reason, choosing to be inflammatory. If anyone has any questions about what we're doing in infrastructure, please come talk to me or any member of council, the town manager, or staff, and they can tell you. This pet project with the recycling center has driven me crazy, and I've acquiesced to some of what I felt were wastes of money moving forward. We are in the spring going to start construction of a new public works facility that includes a completely new convenience center with compacting dumpsters. Until that time, there is absolutely nothing that can be done that will change the fact that there are going to be times when the demand, our capacity simply cannot meet the demand. It's the nature of our cyclical residents and visitors. For him to tell you that why can't a dump occasionally look like a dump? This one just escapes me. And to say that we haven't spent money on it, we have tried some of these others, but we have the long-term fix in place. We've gotten by just fine till now, and I believe we'll do fine. And I again applaud the the work of the public, the work that Charlie and all of those guys do, and the entire public works staff in addressing it, and sometimes in my mind, wasting time cleaning a dump. I won't get on the fact that I don't think it should be called a convenience center because people pull in looking for gas. I'll give, the budget is a complicated document. I have a degree in economics and accounting, and I get lost in the budget. At first pass, could this have been more openly and clearly discussed? Absolutely. It is wrong, inflammatory, and self-serving to make the accusation that this was something under the table or anything like that. It was right there. So that's sowing the seeds of discontent. So welcome to election season, folks. We're going to have some fun. A preventative maintenance program. I come from an industry that we had it too. It's all ISO driven. It's a lot of paperwork. I again believe that our staff does an excellent job maintaining the equipment, that this is not some giant conspiracy to just run through equipment and not take care of it. For the most part, these programs are paperwork intensive. All they are is a profit center for the inspectors, and you're looking for a certification. I have complete confidence in our staff and the care that they put into the equipment, and don't believe that, creating additional paperwork is the answer. I could go on, but as I say, there'll be a time for that as we move forward. Again, thank you everyone for attending, and as always, your participation is greatly appreciated.
Okay. Did you want to? Okay. I have nothing to say regarding what Councilman Abernathy said. It's a ritual that we go through every month. We're bad, he's good, and people are just going to have to decide on their own what they believe and what they don't believe. So I hope you choose on the side of right. I would like to let people know that Public Law 915 guarantees the issuing of a proclamation of each year by the President of the United States of America, designating September 17th through the 23rd as Constitution Week. I think that is something that we all need to be aware of, living in a country that we have our Constitution, and it's obviously has made us. It has been 231 years since the drafting of our Constitution, and it allows us to have a government like this and allows us to speak our minds. And I would just like to say that, as mayor, I would proclaim this week, September 17th through the 23rd, as Constitution Week. Next on our agenda are comments from the audience regarding anything that was discussed in this meeting today. Would anybody like to get up and speak? Okay, I'm going to point, and then you're going to come up, and then you're going to give your name and address. Sir?
Joe Johnston, 1420 Beach Mountain Parkway. I'm fully in favor of what you had stated. I didn't know, and I should have probably, that was a main thoroughfare for the construction trucks coming up and down from the lower level, and I'm concerned about the traffic of construction trucks, on the extension coming from,
The other side of it.
from the other side.
Right.
And I know there's efforts involved in trying to get that a throughway from the other place. So I just wanted to express my feelings on that. I do feel that the construction trucks, we're right on the corner. 1420 is right on the corner. When I back out of my parking lot, there's a lot of times that that's a blind corner for both them and me. So 15 mile an hour would do nothing but help me to try and get those guys to slow down a little bit. Thanks.
Thank you. Sir?
Good afternoon, everybody. Rob Rusak, 132 Wintergreen Way. So I just wanted to say, I looked at the document on the roads. Oh, I'm sorry. Rob Rusak, R-U-S-C-Z-A-K, 132 Wintergreen Way. I hate to pick up the road thing again. I noticed on the document you didn't have Wintergreen Way on the document, so if the subject comes back up, if you could add Wintergreen Way to that, and then just a psychological comment. If you come up with a speed limit, instead of maybe 15, make it 14 miles an hour or 16 miles an hour, because there's something about those odd numbers that make people pay more attention. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else that would like to make comments? Larry, come on up. Your name and address, please.
Larry Byrne, 106 Hawthorne. I'd just like to thank the council members for their support. I've lived there since February, and there's been quite a few close calls on Hawthorne, and I just would like to thank that we did the right thing tonight. And I also like to thank that the police department, once those signs get put up, that we do enforce the 15 miles an hour law, because I think it's very important. Thank you.
Thank you. Name and address, please.
Lisa Johnston, 1420 Beach Mountain Parkway. I'd also like to suggest speed bumps instead of actually patrolling
Problem
it.
with speed bumps is that the plowing, you can't plow when you have speed bumps. Plowing, it would just wipe out the speed bumps.
Okay.
So sorry about that, and kill the plow. So, because that's come up before, and it's a good idea, but with the winter, you can't do that. But thank you, appreciate it. Anybody else? Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
So move.
Second.
Everybody in favor? Let's go. Well, that's what
Your dad tell you you have to come to one of these meetings tonight?
He said you gotta come watch the show, that's what he
Well,
said.
actually, it's pretty good though. There's some towns where they ask you all the time, get out at 5:15, start
That's not
at 4
too
o'clock.
bad.
No, that's not too bad.
Nice to finally meet you.
Yeah, nice to meet
There's
you.
some nice things about you.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
That was good. I like that.
No, opposed.